All right, so first introduce yourself. Just give yourself a little biopic if you want to.
Oh, okay. Yeah, my name is Akhmed. I'm a student at Mason College, history major.
Cool. And then I need you to speak up for me just a little bit. But,
Okay.
What is a stereotype, in your own words?
I think it's I don't know, it's something that's made up in people's minds of, how people are, the way that they act, and who they are. So, a stereotype is like something like, I don't know, black people eat chicken, Asians eat rice and stuff like that. And those things might not necessarily be, 100% true.
Right.
So it's something that's made up in the minds of people.
So why do people stereotype?
It can be, various things that affect people's stereotypes. I mean, or people think of a stereotype. It could be media, movies. You know what I'm saying? Things that doesn't matter. Things that's written in papers, history being taught in the wrong type of fashion or way. So education, all of those type of things play a part in people, the way that they look at stereotyping or them stereotyping, why they stereotype.
So if you could elaborate on that, why do you think media plays a big part in stereotypes?
Oh yeah, most definitely. Like for instance, like when the whole situation was going on with Mike Brown and Ferguson, they only showed the riots, the people that was looting and everything like that. But for the majority of the whole situation in Ferguson, they were peaceful protesting. You know what I mean? They were doing. They weren't causing any problems or. They weren't looting for the most part, but that's the image that they put in the media about us. Every time that they, whenever they put something in the news, they pick a narrative, like in certain communities, like in Southeast San Diego or East San Diego, they always talk about a shooting or something like that, but they never talk about some of the great things that people are doing in those communities.
Right. So, question: do you think it's okay to stereotype in any format? Do you think there's any truth in it? Do you think it could benefit or add to anything to a situation in any?
That's a good question. In some stereotypes, there is some truth in it, but you shouldn't use that to be the factor of measuring who somebody is.
Definitely.
You know what I mean? Because even though they say black people love chicken or whatever, everybody loves chicken. Everybody loves watermelon. Everybody loves rice and everything like that. So we shouldn't let that be the factor in which we measure who somebody is. I think that when we stereotype, it gives us such a limited view of who someone is, and we really got to come with like a open mind, and we can't use stereotyping whenever we come upon go to a certain person or something like that, and even we do it amongst ourselves. You know what I'm saying? We stereotype amongst ourselves.
So do you think stereotyping, for example, in our case scenario, in the African American community, affects us internally? For example, we perpetuate the stereotypes in our own community and how we view ourselves, our own perception of other black people.
Oh yeah, most definitely. And like I've done it myself. You feel me? I think that every black person listens to hip hop sometimes, and I just walk up to him and just start having this conversation, and like this brother or this sister don't
listen to jazz.
Yeah, they listen to jazz or they listen to rock. You know what I'm saying? Like you'd be like, it kind of throws you off. Like what you mean? You listen to okay, but all of us we're not all the same. You know what I mean? All of us have different flavors. All of us have a different way. We dress different. All types of things. So we look different. So we do have those stereotypes in our community. And a lot of those stereotypes have been put on us and taught to us at a young age.
So That's a great segue to my next question, which is, have you ever perpetuated a stereotype, subconsciously or consciously or subconsciously? And that's an interesting question. I mean, it's hard to kind of really delve into your mind and try and decide if you perpetuate something subconsciously.
Yeah.
But like for me, for example, you brought up rap, and it kind of makes me, I think like when you hop in the car with your homie, you immediately play rap music because you just assume that's what he listens to. You know what I mean? And I mean, sometimes, of course, not all the time, but most of the times when you hop in the car with your homie, you're just going to play rap music because that's what it is. And that's, in a way, a stereotype. Maybe not as harmful. Maybe there's some truth to it, but that's subconsciously perpetuating a stereotype. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's instilled in it.
Yeah, bro. Just like with the example that I talked about before, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
That's like that's where it starts at subconsciously, you know what I mean? And it continues to happen, and that's with my own people, and that's with other people as well, where I just start this stereotype, you know what I mean, of someone, and that's not what that whole situation is, you know. So it definitely starts subconsciously, and I can attest to that. I can say that I've done it many a time. So.
Good. All right, so I believe this is my last question for you. So do you think that a lot of the problems in today's society are a result of stereotypes or reflect stereotypes? The way that we internalize these ideas and falsehoods, and just they end up in our policies and how we treat people and legislation, and they honestly become law, or laws are based off that predicate.
I think stereotype is an effect of something. You know what I'm saying? I think stereotypes comes from out of something that's bigger than just stereotyping. You know what I mean? A lot of the stereotypes that we have within our own community and outside of our community is a result of what have been going on for the past 400 years through slavery and white supremacy. You know what I mean? So that's just an effect. So those that started the stereotype, many of them knew that black people were all the same, and you know what I'm saying, and all of these certain situations, they just created a narrative, and they pushed the narrative to where they had other people believing in their narrative. Right. So I think that stereotyping is an effect of some. I don't necessarily think that that's where it started, but stereotyping do have an effect on the masses now, since it's here. You know what I mean? So since they already created a narrative, pushed that narrative and made it into a stereotype to where people think that's what it is, now it has its effects. It affects laws. It affects our image in media. It affects all types of things. That's getting into college and all various other situations. So now stereotyping has its own effect.
Right. So interesting. All right. Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
Most definitely.
Thank you for your time.
Yeah.